And we do have this bias toward a smaller scale. We're not thinking one big farmer is going to be a sustainable idea there, economically or environmentally. We're thinking groups working together hedges your risk in a lot of ways and makes it so the thing works better because people are pooling resources. But it also means that if one of our tenants turns out to be, no good, we can kind of say, we could walk away from that and there'll still be other tenants doing good work there. Diversity, that's really the key to us, yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you, ma'am.
So yeah, like Otto was saying, I have a pretty varied background. I've done a lot of education, I've done a lot of environmental education. I've been lucky enough to work on a lot of farms. I've done a haying season, sugaring, lambing this time of year, which is just terrifying, but really cute. But I do not have a lot of the farming background that these guys have. What I do know is that it's a lot of work, no matter what you do. So right now I work for Farm Fresh, and they are a non-profit in Rhode Island. Has anyone ever heard of Farm Fresh before? Hey, how have you guys heard of it? Does someone want to just shout out and tell me? Oh, awesome. Yeah, so the website's actually a really great resource, and I'm going to talk about that first as we go. My notes are on my phone. I apologize for that. You'll see me looking down at it a lot. And also, a lot of the photos are missing from this, so if you see stuff that just looks a little wonky, that's why. It's not bad design. It's just, it's bad design. Yeah. Yeah. So Farm Fresh Rhode Island, this is our 10-year anniversary. We've been around for about 10 years. Kind of the story behind this is Noah and Luella were two Brown students. They were out visiting farms, and they happened to be at a potato farm, and we're hearing this sob story from this potato farmer saying, I can't make any money. All these potatoes from Idaho are just killing me. I'm going out of business. This is my last year. And so they decided to do a little experiment. They went to Eastside Market in Providence and asked Eastside Market if they'd be interested in selling Rhode Island potatoes right alongside the Idaho potatoes. This is kind of 10 years ago, before local food had as much of a buzz. People weren't labeling these things. With the labels, the Rhode Island potatoes sold more than the Idaho potatoes. Any guesses as to why? Like if you'd never heard, It's from Rhode Island, yeah. People have like a real resonance with, local food. Rhode Island especially, I feel like we're all like very vehemently proud of where we're from. So this kind of was the green light to say that, okay, people are interested in food that's from Rhode Island. They will choose it over something that's slightly cheaper and from somewhere that has had to travel a lot, and go from there. So we're a 501c3 not-for-profit. Does anyone know the difference between a nonprofit and a not-for-profit? Any guesses? It's weird language. So Farm Fresh Rhode Island is a nonprofit. We're 501c3. We don't pay taxes. However, as a business, as any organization that needs to, have staff and pay people and get work done, we have income, so we make a profit. If we didn't, we wouldn't exist anymore. It's just that because of the work we're doing, that's not taxed. There's like 29 classes of 501s. So not-for-profit, you'll hear thrown around a lot. It means the same thing. It's just a little bit more accurate because we do make a profit. This is our mission, to grow a local food system that values the environment, health, and quality of life for farmers and eaters. This is our healthy hub model. So we're technically a food hub. What differentiates us from other food hubs is that we are a healthy hub. Thank you. This Venn diagram thing on the right looks a little confusing. I'm going to explain all the different pieces of all the different things we do, and then hopefully it will make some more sense. But over here on the left, you'll see community access programs, food systems enterprise. These are the two different umbrellas underneath Farm Fresh. So I work more with food systems enterprise. There's a whole other group of colleagues that they work with the community access programs. Some of these should look familiar. You've been to the farmers markets in Providence. You've heard about Market Mobile. You've been on the website. The website was the first official step for Noah and Luella. So that was kind of how they began connecting eaters with farmers growing local food in Rhode Island. Farm Fresh is interesting because it connects all of these different things. We focus on the health of the eaters, trying to encourage healthy communities, The environment, land preservation, making sure that people are using the land properly and managing it well. For instance, if you're doing logging, you're doing something sustainable, not just kind of clear cutting everything. Food security. So you guys heard that term before? So what's the definition of food security? Well, yeah, so food security versus food insecurity. This is a question we actually use a lot when we talk to people who live in low-income areas. Food insecurity is you worry, that's a question that we ask. It's, do you worry about feeding yourself or your family, once a week? Is that an active concern, at least once a week in your life? Where is my next meal going to come from? So a lot of us enjoy food security. Not all of us, but a lot of us enjoy food security. Food insecurity is a huge problem in the state of Rhode Island, especially when you get into urban areas where it's a little bit more low income.
At least once a week, you're worried if you're insecure.
Yeah, you're worried if you worry about food at least once a week, it's called just blanket label food insecurity. Freshness and quality of fruits and vegetables, common sense. A lot of stuff falls under common sense. We'll get to that later. And community economic development. So this is the local food guide. So you guys are all familiar with this, food asset mapping. It sounds like you guys know how many farms there are in Rhode Island. About how many? Huh? I hear like little murmurs. Come on, you guys. 1,200, yeah. So between 1,200 and 1,500 is the official number we have up here. But 1,200, depending on who's producing what in any given season. So this is all the information. We try and keep it currently updated. It includes CSAs, farmers markets throughout the state, and everything people would need to know if they need to get connected. We have about 1 million people a year, or over 1 million people a year accessing this website, which is good because it means that people are interested, for whatever reason, that they are looking things up. They are looking for this information, and we are what provides it. So in 2006, we decided to try outdoor markets. The first outdoor market was at AS 220, and it had 7 to 8 vendors. Now we have a market at the Hope Artist Village, has about 70 vendors in the winter. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the winter market. So now we've grown. We have markets all over. We have 8 markets. We weren't the first organization to have farmers markets, and we're definitely not the only one. There are about 48 markets in the state of Rhode Island, and we run 8 of them. There are about 48 markets, we run 8 of them. Oh, our model is a little bit different because we run each of them kind of on the same, we have the same, sorry, I just can't think of the word I'm looking for, requirements for all of our vendors. So all of our vendors need to either, they need to make food with things that are made in Rhode Island. We perform farm checks on people to make sure that they're actually growing what they say they're growing and that they're doing it in a healthy, sustainable way for the land and for the people who are eating that food. We accept fresh bucks and bonus bucks. Do you guys know what those are? Have you guys ever been to the farmer's market and seen those signs around? So we accept EBT, WIC. Does anyone know what WIC stands for? Mm-hmm. Women, infants, and children. So, certain money allotments for food accepted at the farmer's market, and SNAP. Does anyone know what SNAP stands for? Yeah, great. That's a new one because that is kind of the new name for food stamps. So, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. We accept all of those at the farmer's markets, and we actively recruit people to spend their SNAP money at our farmer's markets. So, for instance, yeah.
I just want to testify that that's a really big part of farmers market business.
Mm-hmm. So if we, for instance, if you get money for, through SNAP through the state of Rhode Island, say you get $130 a month, if you go to a big box store and spend that money, that money is going to Idaho and it's going out of the state. If you go to the farmer's market and spend that money there, that money stays inside Rhode Island and can promote growth and development. So that's really important for us, for the farmers, for the state. It's a big part of what we do. We tend to focus on neighborhoods with limited access. First off, we have a big market at Kennedy Plaza, which some people will call the urban hub of Rhode Island, just trying to make sure that the farmers market's accessible. Do you all live in Providence? No? Kind of around here and there? Okay. Okay, yeah. So when you live in somewhere that's slightly more rural, it can be really hard to get to the farmers markets. I used to, that one time I tried to bike 10 miles to the farmers market. It was awful. So we try and put them in centers where people have access. Over on Broad Street, at the Armory Park, if you're ever there, those guys start up late May. And just trying to attract lots of different people. So you can see we've grown and how much EBT we get, which is good. EBT is electronic benefits transfer. That is a lot of how these how these benefits are meted out. So you get actually money deposited into this EBT account. At the Farm Fresh, At the Farm Fresh markets, we have a grant to give benefits to EBT. So if you spend $10 with your EBT, we give you $4 free to spend at the farmers market. So that 40% actually builds up, and it makes a big deal. It makes a big difference to people. At the end of the summer, a lot of farmers were like, hey, we still have food to sell. We don't have anything else to do with it. So we decided to try starting a winter's market. First winter market, was ASU 20, 7 to 8 vendors. Now, have anyone ever been to the Hope Artiste Village, the winter farmers market? Cool. If you're ever up in Pawtucket, it's pretty great. You should come check it out. It's the biggest farmers market, indoor farmers market in New England, and we have about 70 to 80 vendors every week.
It's a lot more crowded than that when it's busy.
Yeah, well, we just expanded, so we're in both hallways for the first time this year, so it's a little bit more spread out.
You have live music and everything, right?
Yep, live music, lots of food. I sell pie there on Saturdays, so if you come by, I'll give you pie.
And if you like hot sauce, there's a great store that's got a tremendous amount of hot sauce.
Yeah, lots of different things going on there, which is nice.
You're looking for a hot time.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm getting all of this information. So one of the reasons that the farmers markets are important, also Market Mobile, which I'll get to in a minute, is we try and work with farmers. That's a big, big, big part of what Farm Fresh Rhode Island does. Is it's food distribution, but it focuses on the farmers. Back when Noah and Luella tried to start this up, they had a lot of problems because a lot of businesses had burned their bridges with farmers in Rhode Island. How might they have done that? Why would farmers not be interested in selling through certain businesses? Any guesses? Yeah, they didn't get a good price. For instance, if you are a business and you say, okay, I'll buy 2,000 pounds of carrots from you this winter at this price. The business, there's no contractual obligation if the businesses decide to change their mind or say like, oh, just kidding, I can get them cheaper from Pennsylvania. And then what is the farmer going to do with 2,000 pounds of carrots? It's food. Some things you can store, but not indefinitely. The quality decreases over time. So, a lot of what we do is try and make sure that that doesn't happen. And instead, we can commit to selling certain products in certain amounts for farmers so that they can continue to develop their land and know what to grow, put more land into production, that sort of thing.
Is that like the CSA, in case you can't grow 2,000 pounds, you still give the money to the farmers because you tried?
We have different things worked out, but it's very farmer-centric. We try and make things that work out for the farmers, and then we'll deal on the other end of it. Yeah. So in 2008, we started nutrition education. This is the part where I really need my notes because it's actually very complicated. Healthy foods, healthy families, healthy servings for seniors, and fruit and veggie prescriptions. Let's start with healthy foods, healthy families. So this is focusing on education in a lot of different low-income communities. We have the markets there. Now we want to make sure that people know about them. Kind of getting rid of the stigma that farmers markets are for affluent people who can afford to spend, $5 on a bag of apples. So kind of making sure that we are getting the financial incentives out there. Just like I was saying earlier with the grant we received to give 40% back for EBT, just really pushing it outside of kind of the norm for farmers markets. With nutrition education, public health centers have grown a lot as obesity rates have risen, and we are trying to kind of enter the traditional medical field from a different angle. When you are working with doctors, the whole stories about how great a farm is and all this great development stuff doesn't really work. You need clinical trials, you need case studies, you need all of this very specific things, all these very specific things to happen in this kind of very specific order to be considered. So with all of these programs, especially fruit and veggie prescriptions, we are trying to be that experimental phase.